This is Kevin Sorbo. He's talking to Roseanne right now on her podcast or whatever. I want to listen to what they have to say.
That's zapmydebt.com. Zapmydebt.com.
See, this is so cringy and terrible. This is part of the reason why I never do sponsorships. Because it like, I have to spit it out of my mouth. It's so sleazy. I don't believe sponsorships are bad. I think they're a good thing. It helps people when you use their codes or whatever. Gives them money to keep them going. I'm all for sponsorships. I just can't do it myself. If there's the right sponsorship that I believed in, I think I would be able to do it for sure. Like a BetterHelp or something, some, online therapy thing. I'd be down. Yeah, that's good. My audience would probably be receptive to like therapy anyway. But I've just never found an opportunity to work with any of these companies. All the companies that want to work with me are like diet pill companies or Gold's Co. or whatever other thing. They're all like scumbags to some degree.
Well, we got to do something about it. I mean, look, he's on trial for something that doesn't even make any sense. It's a misdemeanor. There was somebody on CNN the other day, I was flipping channels, and he looked at the camera and he said, if this was anybody other than Trump, this wouldn't even be a jury case, and it wouldn't be. No.
Somebody on CNN said that? Like, what is he talking about right now? Also, CNN is going really far right-wing, unfortunately. They are owned by a right-wing billionaire now, like a Trump nutcase, and they're slowly, gradually, carefully moving further and further to the right as time goes on. It's really sad to see.
Because there's no crime.
No, there's no crime. And yet, where's the evidence?
Yes, there is. There was fraud. Are you serious right now? He lied to take advantage of a situation and defrauded a bunch of people out of money and everything. What do you mean there's no crime?
Why are not enough conservatives as angry and organized as the left is? Why are they not down that courthouse every day, hundreds of people saying,
we have jobs.
Saying it's ridiculous?
We have to go to work.
Well, because everybody's paid off. Everybody in government is a captured operation, and they're all paid by the same people. So,
I mean, you're catching what I said here, right? That fascism requires that your enemy is simultaneously too weak and incompetent to run anything at all, and too strong to overcome. Your enemy is too weak and too strong at the same time. That's what we're watching right now. It's insane.
Of course, they're not going to do anything. Of course, they ran to, authorize the insurrection of the election.
Iran authorized the what?
Well, so of course they're not going to do anything. Of course, they ran to, authorize the insurrection of the election. They ran back there to do it, like Obama ran back to give all our money to the banks.
Isn't that where you keep money?
Yeah.
They're not on our side, and our government is a captured operation that has nothing to do with the American people. All they want us for is...
Well, then why bother voting in her head? I think the answer is she doesn't think that people should bother voting because it's pointless. This is a risky strategy right here. Claiming this stuff depresses the vote like every single time. Honestly, I think even if we had Biden running instead of Kamala Harris, I believe that the left would still take the presidency. In 2016, Hillary got 66 million votes, basically. Trump got 63 million. So Hillary won by, actually, she won by about 3 million votes, give or take. But the Electoral College, of course, made it so that she didn't take the presidency. That's just how the system works, I suppose. In 2020, Biden got 81 million. Trump got 74 million, basically. That's a difference of 7 million, right? And 2020 voting happened before Donald Trump attempted to steal the election by, like, sending fake electors and doing this big, insurrection on the U.S. government and all of that other stuff. All of that happened after the voting. I mean, we can see a clear trend of Trump getting fewer votes as time goes on, and Republicans generally getting fewer votes and being less popular over time. For that reason, I believe that Biden would have won anyway. But it's, a near guarantee, in my opinion, that Kamala is going to win since she's so popular. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll successfully demonize her in the next, oh God, I didn't mean to do that. Shit, I put this on the thing. Maybe they'll successfully demonize her over the course of the next few months. We'll see. By the way, if you guys can like watch to the end of the video, it'd be really appreciated. That's how YouTube judges if a video should go further, is based on watch time.
It's our tax money that we keep continually paying like debt slaves. So I think we've had about enough, and I think 2024 is the end of it, or the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it is kind of scary. I mean, I look at what's.
I'm not scared because I know that we're in the right, and we are for our constitutional republic. We're not going to go commie. We're not going to go Nazi. Mm-hmm. We're not going to go caliphate. And the American people know it.
Right? Didn't she say that we were going to go those things, or that we're already in a situation where we're commie, caliphate, Nazis or whatever? I mean, just the fact that she says that, the fact that she categorizes communist and Nazi in the same group is so absurd. I don't even know what to call it. Does she realize how ridiculous that is and why?
Too, but you know, it's better to, you know, how they used to say, stay safe, lay low, and live to fight another day. That's what I think the American people are doing.
And, you know, the estimate now is there's 15 million illegals across the border. I mean, that's obvious.
Okay, yeah. They have this whole belief that undocumented immigrants are voting or whatever, completely ignoring the fact that you have to show documentation to register to vote in the first place. How are you going to register to vote if you don't have a social security number, a permanent residence, an ID, or anything else? How's that going to happen? The answer is it's not. These people just live in another universe. That being said, when I looked into this pretty heavily not too long ago. When you come to the United States on a visa, it means that you can stay here for like 6 months or something. After 6 months, you have to leave or get a green card, a permanent residency, or whatever, apply for whatever it is. Once you get a green card, you can register to vote in some local municipalities, but federal elections you're barred from taking part in any federal elections, though. You cannot vote for the president until you're a U.S. citizen, which takes like 5 to 7 years generally to accomplish. So this whole bit about like undocumented immigrants voting in elections and all that is just nonsense. What do you think they're putting down as a permanent address? How do you think they're showing ID when they register? It's complete garbage all the way down. You know the system they use to make sure that like people who got an ID are not registering to vote? They cross-check databases. When somebody gets an ID, they go into this ICE database, and voter registration databases are compared against it to see if anyone is doing what they're not supposed to. And if you register to vote, not vote, but register as a green card holder when you're not legally allowed to, that's it. They know nearly instantly, and they shut it down. So this like belief that we should stop using vote counting machines or like computers to keep track of this is actively making things worse. And they don't seem to realize that.
I read recently, I don't know if there's any truth to this. It's crazy if it is.
I bet there's no truth to it.
That a third of them now have the right to be able to vote. How is that even possible?
It's not possible. You live in a fantasy. My God.
I mean, everything is just, it cracks me up that we have to even put up with this right now. I got friends down in El Paso. I got friends in San Antonio, and they say it's just as bad as you think it is. And you look at
but it's not.
All these people coming across.
You know, the most surprising part about this is the idea you might have friends.
It cracks me up that we have to even put up with this right now. I got friends down in El Paso. I got friends in San Antonio.
I don't believe you.
And they say it's just as bad as you think it is. And you look at all these people coming across the border. What was it, 1.4 million came across the border during Trump's 4 years? And all of a sudden we got 15 million plus coming across.
I've talked about this before, but when they lay down propaganda, I can't just let it pass. I have to address this. People that are coming over the border are not like sneaking over here because they want to hurt Americans or whatever other thing. The reason there's a hole in the wall in the first place, or a hole in the border where people can come through, is for asylum seekers. By international law, the United States is legally required to have a pathway through the border to an asylum seeking place, like a United Nations asylum or refugee requesting, whatever you call it. They are legally required to have that, and that's what it is. So when you hear about all these people coming over the border, they're refugees. They're not immigrants. You know where, I believe, don't quote me on this, I think most of our immigrants, you know where most of them come from? Like immigrants, not asylum seekers. They come legally on a visa, and then they just overstay it. They never like register for a green card or anything like that. So setting up a system in which refugees are stopped at the border is not going to decrease the number of immigrants in the United States. It's going to hurt people who are historically oppressed and persecuted. Good job, guys.
When are the American people going to wake up? I get people in my face all the time saying, well, we should have an open border. And I say, wait a minute.
Who? Who says that to you? I don't believe you. God, this is like really entertaining, actually. Not for nothing, but this is like a key component of fascism also. Matter of fact, this is exactly how people got whipped into a blood frenzy in Germany during World War II. Jews were the immigrants of the time. They were talking about immigration being out of control, really. Same thing. Van Briggs, I just re-registered to vote with my changed address, and it requires your state ID, driver's license number. It also requires the last 4 of your social, birth date, permanent address, mailing address, and alternative mailing address if applicable. There's no way that people can get away with voting in federal elections as an illegal immigrant. No, absolutely no way. I agree.
Do you lock your car at night? Do you lock your home at night? And they say, yeah. I go, okay.
It's a closed border.
Well, they had to import voters, the Democrats, because no Americans was going to vote for them anymore.
This is complete bullshit all the way down.
As we woke up and smelt the coffee, what they were doing, which was stealing everybody's money and sending it overseas to get laundered and go back into their pockets.
What is she talking about?
Sure.
So they knew no Americans was going to vote for them, so they had to import communists and pay them, because they wouldn't have voted for Biden either, but they have to pay them to vote for him. And that's the state of our country. And
how many people do you think are paid to vote for Biden? Again, I go back to, if there's a conspiracy, it will be uncovered, and it won't take that long either. If the earth was really flat, it would come out. The most top secretest program of all time, the torture program, came out. It will happen. Isn't it weird that it hasn't happened? You know, the other day, I saw this meme of a conspiracy theorist basically having, like, there's a checklist, and on the right are a bunch of check marks for conspiracy theorists, and on the left is journalists. And it goes down a big list of conspiracies, and every single one of them has a check mark next to conspiracy theorists and an X next to journalists. These people believe that they've been proven right about COVID, that it was secretly like a plot to hurt people or whatever. Think they've been proven right about vaccines and about the moon landing and all kinds of other crazy shit. How can they just claim to be right about things that they are just wrong about? Again, I don't like to go back to this over and over and over again, but this whole bit about like Democrats being paid to riot or to vote a certain way or protest or whatever, this goes back to Germany also. This is the exact same line of attack used in Germany. They keep saying the same thing. They recycle the same shit over and over and over again. Protocols of the Elders of Zion, this old document from 1902, is like a compilation of all the anti-Semitic stuff that people could come up with, written in Russia, Tsarist Russia at the time, designed to demonize Jews to the bitter end. And it detailed this secret Jewish plot to take over the world, and part of that plot involved paying people to protest and to like support this side over that side and all of that. That's not happening. That was never happening. And here we are on the other end of all of that, listening to Republicans claim that a Jewish guy, Soros, is doing this. It always comes back to the Jews, and it's weird at this point.
And, it's really important that people wake up and see that and
honestly, it was weird back then, too.
Stop playing the game that they're shoving down our throat, which is why I'm glad you made a movie about it. Your movie's intelligent.
I did. I made him.
Which movie?
Can we ask him about, Kevin, you've been talking about Hollywood and the CCP explicitly, and we're kind of dancing around a lot. We do this every week, me and my mother. We talk about like who's pulling the strings, and we keep going deeper and deeper. But you've done a lot of really good research about the CCP's influence over Hollywood.
No, he hasn't done any research on this.
Hollywood. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because it's not a conspiracy theory. This is...
Yes, it is a conspiracy theory.
100%.
I got two things coming out with Epic Times right now. One, it's already out right now, and it's called Hollywood Takeover. It deals
Oh my God, the Epic Times.
with the Chinese takeover of Hollywood, which they've been doing for a long, long time now. They control pretty much, I think they own all of the AMC theaters across the country as well.
Like, this is straight up disgusting, man, what he's doing here. He knows for a fact that China is not taking over Hollywood. He must. He has worked in Hollywood for, like, ever. He must know this is nonsense, right? Now, what he's saying here, let me step back again.
It deals with the Chinese takeover of Hollywood, which they've been doing.
100%.
I got two things coming out with Epic Times right now.
Right. The Epic Times, I want to mention the Epic Times. That's I don't think I'd even call it a newspaper, a propaganda paper that was created by an adherent to the Falun Gong cult. It's a cult that exists and is headquartered in New York City and Manhattan. And it's like this bizarre religious group that believes in like aliens and all kinds of crazy stuff. They started writing their newspaper, the Epic Times, and standing out on street corners handing it out. They'd print like 1,000 copies and just give a copy to anybody that passed. And it was just pure unadulterated propaganda all the way down. And it turns out they're linked to like a money laundering scheme now. I'm not 100% sure. I think that the Epic Times is like in a lot of legal trouble. I don't know what's happened to that case. I haven't heard about it in a while, but it's not good. It is not good. So anyway, I'm surprised, honestly, that he has any affiliation with the Epic Times at all. I believe Falun Gong is like a Christian cult. Been a while since I looked into it.
One, it's already out right now, and it's called Hollywood Takeover. It deals with the Chinese takeover of Hollywood, which they've been doing for a long, long time now. They control pretty much, I think they own all of the AMC theaters across the country as well.
Don't trust a word out of his mouth, even if it's like a trivial fact. Even if he says the sky is blue, look it up, because they lie about things, they being Roseanne and her son and Sorbo here. These people lie about things on a daily basis. That's like their whole bit.
Right.
And they will only allow movies that come into their country, to their 1.5 billion people, if they're okay with it. If it has a negative message about America, they're all for it. Because
Okay, that's not exactly true, precisely. But he's right that movies are restricted that come into China from the United States. They will only accept a certain number of movies per year. I don't remember how many, like 2 movies a year or something from America. And which movies they accept sometimes depends on their messaging about Taiwan or about the Chinese government or whatever. Sometimes they won't allow it in if it's negative about those things. Anyway, I'll give them that. But that's about as far as it goes. There isn't some big conspiracy about China, like, blah, 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 whatever.
That's how they want.
You know, I say that. I know somebody in the film industry did special effects in the film industry for like decades. And he explained to me exactly how all of that works.
Movies that come into their country, to their 1.5 billion people, if they're okay with it. If it has a negative message about America, they're all for it, because they want to just dig in.
Yeah, that's how.
It's just nonsense. What movies have a negative message about America anyway? Lord Fonzie, Sony owns AMC theaters. I just read an article about it. Sony is Japanese. Sorbo is just a racist, so take everything he says with a metric ton of salt. 100%, absolutely. For the record, Chinese and Japanese people tend to have, like, kind of bad blood between each other, at least in New York City. And the reason is because of, at least in part, because of World War II, how things played out there. Like, the Japanese were... Imperial Japan was just a bad place. Just a bad place. They mistreated the Chinese terribly.
All they want to see is that America is a racist, backwards imperialist country.
What movie gives that message? Name one.
I found it interesting in Tom Cruise's movie, though, because the Maverick, the Top Gun 2 Maverick, was going to come out, and they looked at it and I said, no, you got to go back and take the Taiwan patch off all of his jackets.
Really?
Yeah.
And COVID hit. So they had a couple years to think about it. I don't know if Tom Cruise had anything to do with this, but they ended up they said, screw it. We're going to keep it the way it is. It still made over $1 billion. Probably would make $2 billion going to China.
Okay, no, I don't. Completely made up all of this, all the way down about how much more money you make from China and all this stuff. Just nonsense. But is this even true? Like this bit about the Taiwanese patch. I don't remember anything about this. Maverick? I don't know that movie. Why would they even have a Taiwanese patch? I understand that, like, China seems to believe that Taiwan is part of China in a similar way that Russia believes that Ukraine is part of Russia and they deserve to have it or whatever other thing. But I've been told by Taiwanese people that it's actually very different. Like, Taiwan is part of China in a way that Ukraine is not part of Russia. I'm not exactly sure how that works or why or whatever, but, you know, China was not always the financial powerhouse that it is today, or like the cultural powerhouse. It used to be like not very developed, but it is very much developed now. And when it was undeveloped and kind of, communist, when it was a communist government heavily, like when it was all in communist and communist revolution was happening and all that, Taiwan split off from the main Chinese government to go toward democracy instead, I believe. And China has always had it out for Taiwan. They've always wanted to take Taiwan back for like a long time, interestingly.
But somebody stood up to them and said, no, we're not going to change it. And I found that interesting. But they do own
I don't believe him.
Pretty much everything. There's an interesting part in the documentary where Robert Downey Jr. goes over there to promote his next Iron Man movie.
Robert Downing Jr.? Is that his name? What's his name? Robert Downey Jr. Okay.
And
you know that Robert Downey Jr. was addicted to drugs, like heavy stuff, and he had a burger from Burger King, and that totally flipped his life around. He had a burger that was so good from Burger King that he gave up drugs on the spot, threw him into a river, and never turned back. That's real.
Things they tell him to say. And he actually says this in the documentary. He goes, you know what? I love China. In fact, when I wake up in the morning in America, I feel like, wow, wouldn't it be great if this was China? Because
who said that? Are you telling me that Robert Downey Jr. said that? That he wishes that America was China?
I feel like I'm a part of your country. I go, oh my God, it's crazy the stuff people will say.
They did that with John Cena too. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, that did not happen. John Cena said some negative shit about China, or said something that the Chinese government didn't like. What was it? He was acknowledging Taiwan as its own distinct government, and that pissed them off. And so he apologized to China for that in Mandarin, I believe. I'm not a fan of that. He shouldn't have done that, in my opinion. But it's not like this big thing where they're controlling everybody and everything, like this big cabal or whatever. Like, they live in another universe.
John Cena, they all apologize for it later if they say anything negative. They jump on the board right away and apologize. Quit apologizing for the truth that you're speaking. But it's an interesting documentary. I highly recommend it. I hope people check it out. It's called The Hollywood Takeover, and it's really focuses around one guy that used to be a pretty big wig within the industry that did nothing but movies like that would kiss ass.
Wow, knock me over with a feather. You're telling me that they're basing an entire premise off of one man's story? Huh. Color me surprised. That actually happens a lot. Like, that's how propaganda works. Finding one exception and marking it down as a rule. Trying to convince everybody around you that it's the rule rather than the exception.
Of China. And
who's that? What's that person's name?
Oh my God. My mind just went blank with his name.
Harvey Weinstein. No, I'm kidding.
You got it. Pull up the Hollywood Takeover. You can.
I'll do that while you guys talk, because I am.
Harvey Weinstein is just terrible.
I'm curious to know.
But yeah, it's driving me crazy. I know his name. I can see his face on tip of my. But it's
on the tip of my what?
What studio was he? The head?
He can see the guy on the tip of his something.
I think he was with Universal or Sony. I think.
I think it was Sony. Sony did.
Okay, Sony is Japanese, not Chinese.
So much in Hollywood.
Yeah. but it's very educational. I've got 3 more documentaries coming out at the end of the year, actually. So I've kind of jumped into that world for the last 9-10 years, and
wow, you're all over the place, aren't you?
I love it. It's very, very educational and very interesting for me, and I'm going to keep on.
Yeah, you created.
Damn, it's a shame that Super Nerd isn't here. I bet he'd really appreciate this conversation. He's Taiwanese, and he lives in Hong Kong right now. He's always into these conversations about China.
In that world for the last 9-10 years, and I love it. It's very, very educational and very interesting for me, and I'm going to keep on.
Yeah, you created your own kind of distribution channel since you left the Hercules show, right?
Well, Sorbo, since Hollywood left me, my manager and agent actually called me in about a dozen years ago after many years with ICM. They said we couldn't work together anymore. And I thought it was kind of funny. I said, what's the problem? And they said, well, you know.
You're a complete fucking nutcase? Is that it?
The Christian thing, the whole conservative thing, I'm going, I've always been that way. I've never changed. You guys knew that when you signed me on back in 1988.
He turned into a vocal nutcase. It's not just being Christian and conservative. It's vocally attacking people for who they are, hurting people, intentionally, like setting out to hurt others, and being a colossal scumbag. That's the problem here. He's been a conservative all that time. Interesting. If true. He's gone completely downhill, though, over the past 10, 15 years. So it makes complete sense that people wouldn't want to work with him. There are a ton of conservative Christians working in Hollywood. Look at Chris Pratt. He's part of the Hillsong Church or whatever, right? That's pretty far right. But he's still starred in like the Mario movie, for example.
And they said, well, you know, everything's changing within Hollywood right now. Everything's kind of moving in different directions. It's difficult for people.
Who told you that?
Want to deal with you anymore. And I have to laugh at that stuff. The hypocrisy once again with these guys, because they scream for freedom of speech. They scream for, tolerance. But, that's a
Who are you talking about?
One-way street with these bozos. And I just think it's funny. So my wife and I formed Sorbo Studios. So SorboStudios.com has a lot of information on there. And I do movies now that pretty much Hollywood used to do. And I'm shooting 3 or 4 a year. And they're all,
My God, dude, he's shooting so many movies.
Movies that have love and hope and laughter and redemption. And I think the biggest thing missing in the world right now is hope. People are just like, what are we going to do?
The only name I could.
Right. I think you're right. And any kind of positive message to unite people and uplift them. Boy, they hate that worse than anything, don't they?
I don't hate that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they certainly do.
But that's the thing. They're not making movies that uplift and unite. They're making movies where they talk shit about people they don't like God's Not Dead 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Remember those? Just brazenly lying and talking shit about people nonstop. That's all it was.
Are you going to say? I'm sorry.
I was going to say I sped through your trailer to see the name. The only name that was mentioned is one near and dear to us. I don't know if this is who you're referring to, but it's definitely in the documentary. Is Bob Iger? Is that who you were talking about?
No, it wasn't him.
No? All right. Well,
he's pretty up there with the ancestors of China.
So it's someone bigger than Bob Iger? I'm going to have.
Bob Iger owns Disney, I believe. You know that Disney owns so many intellectual properties that there's one time last year, there's one point during 2024, I believe, where every movie in every theater was a Disney movie. They had Star Wars, they have the Marvel universe or whatever. They own so much, it's ridiculous.
I have to keep researching.
No, I mean he's big, but he's more on the production side of it all.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't run a studio or anything like that. He just got to a point. His wife, he said, my wife looked at me one night and she says, "Are you listening,
Chris Fenton?
Are you okay what you're doing?" And he just said, "Wow." It woke him up. He said. So he dropped out of the industry. Now he's doing speaking events and doing his own thing.
Chris Fenton?
Yes, Chris Fenton.
I found it.
Good work.
No idea who that is.
I was going to say Fenton, then I couldn't remember his first name. It's Chris Fenton. That's the guy.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about the subversion. Like, one thing I want to talk about real quick is that we're all kind of shell-shocked, those of us that are center or right of center or moderate or sane, whatever.
These people think that they're center and moderate? Really? Do they really think this?
You want to call it? Like, this subversion happened on our watch, and none of us really saw it coming. And now we're all kind of
they're QAnoners.
looking at each other like, wow, they got deep, they got in Hollywood, they got in universities, and we're kind of all shell shocked. We're starting to gather our thoughts and organize, but we didn't realize how deeply subverted America was until like
I did, Jake.
You did. I mean, we as in the collective Americans, you definitely did.
But most people don't.
Most people don't. And I love that. And I'm going to let you guys talk about it, but that's.
Again, it's a big conspiracy. Everything is a conspiracy. Everything is working against us or whatever. Sometimes there are total scumbags that operate independently. And I'll acknowledge that. Yeah, there are terrible people that operate like within the film industry or whatever, like Harvey Weinstein or whatever. Doesn't mean that there's a systemic top-down problem of people like trying to whatever they're complaining about.
That's what we really have to talk about. Like, is it past the point of no return? I've asked this before, or can we pull it together?
Well, number one, we need to get rid of public education. It's pathetic. Even Bill Maher
What? We need to get rid of public education?
Bill Maher came out and said, don't send your kids to American universities. And I totally agree with that because
I don't know that he said that, but it wouldn't surprise me. If he did, he's a idiot. We kind of knew that about him.
The whole system from kindergarten through graduating now is all just crazy. And all the teachers now over the last 20 years, all these teachers are under 40 years of age. They've been so brainwashed. I think there's an ignorance there as well. They don't really understand, I think, what they're doing. For them to go around and marching at these universities and say, queers for Hamas, I mean, that's like the black.
Who is saying this? I honestly haven't actually seen that anywhere, like gays for Hamas. I think people talk about it, but I've never seen that before, actually. Is that real? And if so, how big is it? How many members does it have? Does it have donators? I'm skeptical. Either way, people can be in favor of not genociding a group of people. They don't have to be in favor of their ideology. So anyway, these people are just completely full of it. He's pretending that this is like some big widespread thing. Real Pumpkin J, because of all the stuff Disney owns, because of all the stuff Disney owns, Thor's my favorite Disney princess. Okay, yeah. The only Avengers movie that I have ever seen was Avengers Endgame. Is that the name of it? Is because Matt Dillahunty, we were all hanging out together, and Matt was a big Avengers fan, and so he wanted to go to a movie with us, so we went to see that, and I was like, well, I've never seen it, but I'll give it a shot.
Blacks for the KKK. Did they not know what happened to them if they went over anywhere in the Middle East with these Muslim countries? I mean, it's just we need to keep educating people in a proper way to get rid of. There's a Reagan quote. I won't say it word for word, but he said, these are the words to fear. Hi, I'm from the government and we're here to help. And he's so right, because everything the government touches, they just destroy.
That's not true. The government can make people's lives dramatically better, vastly better. It turns sour when people like Kevin Sorbo come in and try to cripple the government's positive effects, cut funding, and ruin it all. And Reagan was a corporate shill. He was terrible. He might have done more damage to society, Reagan, than at least any modern president, aside from maybe Donald Trump.
They make things worse. Everything from the DMV to public education to American universities. These kids want to take down plaques that have been on the wall since the 1700s in Ivy League schools that have anything to do with God.
I don't know what he's talking about. No one's trying to take down plaques. Like what?
They want to take these things down now. People need to stop giving money to universities. People need to start walking away. And I posted on Twitter, I told those rioting kids out there, I said, you better all keep your tents because you're going to need them after you graduate.
Wow. That does not surprise me for some reason. What a colossal scumbag. Seriously.
Well, Ma, Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be coming on pretty soon.
Oh, no. I know that guy.
To talk more about, COVID and all the fun stuff, but the wellness company. We've done a lot of ads for him. And he's pretty much getting ahead of this bird flu thing because it's coming.
Somebody has to.
Yeah, and there's an outbreak. But in the meantime, we want people to be prepared. So just tell them where to go for the med kits.
Well,
Wow, a med kit. Peter McCullough is a right-wing conspiracy theorist nutcase who also has a medical degree and has been published and has some really commonly cited papers. He's very legitimate in the scientific community, surprisingly. I try to poke holes in that, try to see, is this guy genuine? Is he real? Do people really respect him? Yeah, in fact, they do. One of his biggest papers that he's published, one of the more popular, most cited ones. I mean, that's how they measure, scientists' worth, is by how many times they've been cited, how many times their papers were cited. One of his biggest papers has been cited like millions of times or something. And it was basically like analyzing the effects of COVID. And he released it early on in the pandemic, determining like what the side effects of COVID are and things like that, or what the symptoms are of COVID. It's a totally legit study, but it legitimized him as a scientist, as a medical professional. And now he's going around talking shit about trans people and everything. Oh my God, that guy's terrible. We might have to talk about that at some point soon.
The only one of its kind, this prescription contagion emergency kit from the Wellness Company provides you with a carefully selected assortment of effective medications for bird flu, COVID-19, and other respiratory illnesses. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine,
Oh my God, dude. He's selling those things in his med kit for COVID?
HCQ, Z-Pak, Teraflu, and budesonide.
That's what
budesonide.
it is. Good job.
Along with a nebulizer, so you can rest easy knowing that you have emergency meds on hand, along with a guidebook for safety.
All of those things, except for maybe hydroxychloroquine, are fine. Maybe you should have like ivermectin and stuff on hand, because that is actually genuinely a useful, legitimate anti-parasitic. But COVID isn't a parasite. It's not valuable for preventing COVID or curing it or whatever other thing, whatever other nonsense you want to spread. And it's clear to me that he's selling all of this stuff in one big package together because he wants to make people think it's more legitimate, who don't accept the fact that COVID was like a real virus that was really getting people killed, and medical advice about COVID was legitimate.
Use. Backed by research from experts like Dr. Peter McCullough, the Wellness Company's Contagion Emergency Kit is a must-have. Every American should have at least one of these kits in their home. So avoid the chaos, the wait times, and the price of a hospital, and have exactly what you need for as low as the cost of a single doctor's visit. At the end of the day, just have these life-saving medications on hand, and you won't have to worry or stress about it at all. To be prepared for the unexpected, listeners can go to twc.health/RB and grab your...
TWC, the Wellness Company? I thought those things were prescription only. How is he giving these things out in like a med kit? That's super weird to me. Well, like I said, they're legitimate medicines, and he's a legitimate scientist. He's just scamming people.
Emergency kit right now. That's twc.health/RB and use the promo code RB for 10% off and free shipping. Kits are only available in the USA.
It's probably because they require certain medicines that are prescription only outside the US, and inside the US I'm nearly positive of it. I thought that ivermectin was prescription only, and that's why people were using the horse paste, because you can only get it in like certain forms unless you get a prescription, right? That's super weird. Van Briggs is going to check out the site real quick. Why don't we take a look? twc.health. Own your own freedom, own your own health. Wellness. Interesting. Supplements, medical kits, lifestyle memberships. Let's see what lifestyle's got for us. Bison liver, bison trifecta, and bison heart. So what is this, like jerky made out of organs? Why? You can get certain vitamins and minerals in way less disgusting ways. Origin series, organic broccoli sprouts. Okay. Organic lemongrass, organic peppermint. This is so stupid to me. This whole organic thing drives me up a wall. It's, kind of the end result of anti-GMO stuff. GMOs are not dangerous. We wouldn't be alive without GMOs. They are good. Signature series, Spike support. Who's Spike, and why do I want support from him? Healthy heart, restful sleep. When you see supplement, you can probably assume that it's just nonsense. Kids and chewables, sleep and restoration, mind and energy. All right, let's see what they got for mind and energy. If they don't have something with ephedrine in it, then it's probably worthless. or B12. I guess vitamin B12, I think, gives energy too. Vitamins are drugs, you know. Go to the med kits. Okay. Med kits. Where are the med kits? Virtual care. See a doctor. This is disgusting, dude. All right. All med kits. Prescriptions. Doctor prescribed for you for your specific need. There you go. So he is prescribing stuff for people. Just randos. Writing prescriptions. Fill it at a pharmacy, apparently. Or maybe they are the pharmacy. He writes a prescription, then he sends the kit. He is seemingly industrializing this scam. He's industrializing the prescription industry. That's wrong. There's a reason that you need a face-to-face visit with a doctor to get certain prescriptions. Because people don't know what they need sometimes. They don't know why they need it or whatever. This stuff is dangerous and harmful. Can be. GMOs just crossbreeding in a lab. That's all. Right, 100%. It is. And hating GMOs is such nonsensical trash. My God, these people need help. Seriously. Contagion emergency kit. Oh, I wonder if it has a mask in it. It has ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. Isn't hydroxychloroquine intended to help with lupus? Does it fix anything else? Azithromycin is fine. I forget what that helps, but I think it's like an antiviral, or I don't know. Oseltamivir, generic Tamiflu, and budesonide along with a nebulizer. $325. Wow, dude. I wonder how much you get in this. Is it like a year's supply or something? Replenish my kit. We're up to 2 years after purchase. Wow. That is just wild to me. Resources, bird flu, wholesale wellness partners. Let's see what he says about bird flu. The real pandemic. Dust off those masks and roll up your sleeves. Moderna and our government are ready for you. Moderna has enjoyed skyrocketing stocks, largely due to its alliance with government-funded mRNA technology. Anything government-funded, apparently, is bad. That's why they even put it there. To solve the next manufactured, albeit deadly, pandemic on the horizon. Wow, well, at least he accepts that COVID is deadly, right? Unfortunately, he thinks that it was, like, manufactured by the Chinese or some shit. This is sad. This is honestly, truthfully, deeply sad. In a recent interview on One American News, Peter McCullough discussed the Gates Foundation involvement in gain-of-function work. Oh my God. He knows this is nonsense. He knows it, right? He's a fully legitimate scientist. He has to know this is BS. Look at this. Gates Foundation awarded $9.5 million to UW-Madison to make H5N1 bird flu transmissible to humans. That is all viral research. People are mutating viruses to see how likely it is that they'll go in this direction or that so that they can create cures for it ahead of time. That's how we get the flu vaccine so quickly every year before it even comes out. And it works for 70% of cases, not very effective, but scientists are guessing at what's going to happen, roughly. Educated guess, based on their research of this virus. And it's just shameless and disgusting to me that these people like McCullough know this and are lying about it. Is this even true? The Gates Foundation awarded $10 million basically to research bird flu? Maybe. That's feasible, plausible. But the way it's worded in a propagandistic way, it's framed to imply that Bill Gates is trying to kill people with it. This is just disgusting shit, man. Always risky to scan through a Stu Peters video live.
For the season, my worry is that these young people are taking the vaccines, they're forced into it, and the risk period starts, and we don't know how long it lasts for myocarditis. It may be just a few weeks or months or longer.
Yeah, he's so full of shit.
That in fact they have subclinical symptoms or mild symptoms, don't report it. And then with the physical activity, notice most of the deaths are not occurring off the field. They're actually in competition, that in fact it's driving cardiac death. Stu, we don't see this anymore because the former leading cause of athletic sudden death is called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Now there's almost uniform.
This dude's such a piece of trash. Seriously, just disgusting. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than Rumble. Yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments. These people are shameless.